thoughts that you want to share on the session, you can just put them into that document, and also put your email address if you would like to learn more. I'll now hand it over to Kira.
Kia ora, everyone. I have an old laptop which does not like to cooperate, so that's where I'm at. So today, I'd like to talk about digital literacy and get your thoughts on where we're at and where we need to be moving. I became interested in this topic after reading about and seeing how many people, including my students and fellow teaching staff, lacked confidence with digital technology, and they seem to see it as a necessary evil, even though of course it's everywhere now. A lot of people say they're bad with technology. It seems to be the new "I'm bad at math" thing. And there's a real sense that they always feel left behind. And I found a lot of misconceptions and gaps in education that really need to be addressed to close the digital divide. So hopefully we can get those slides up. I wanted to run through some definitions first. So digital technology, basic definition is it's a computerized device, method, system, etc. So a laptop, a cell phone, internet applications. It's a catch-all term for tech. Digital literacy and digital skills have a variety of definitions. One that I like is one by Martin from 2008, and he defines this as the ability to identify, access, manage, integrate, evaluate, analyze, and synthesize digital resources, construct new knowledge, create media expressions, and communicate with others. And I'll talk a little bit more about this in a second. And you've probably heard the term digital native. This was coined in 2001 to refer to young people who were supposedly naturally good with digital technology because they grew up surrounded by it. But actually, this is pretty much a myth. In actuality, your aptitude and confidence with technology are impacted less by your age and more by factors such as your socioeconomic status and cultural environment, your race, ethnicity, or gender, how broad your use of tech is, how much experience you have with different types of tech, how much self-efficacy you have. So this is the belief that you have in your ability to reach a goal, and how much education you have. So a book that I've read recently called Digital Skills, Unlocking the Information Society puts forth a really good framework for digital skills. And so they give out 6 skills and say that it's kind of like Maslow's hierarchy of needs, right? You need the bottom ones in order to be able to move to the top. So the bottom level of the pyramid for skills is operational skills. So these are, you can think of them as button knowledge, just being able to operate a computer and a mouse, a keyboard. Then the next level is formal skills. So this is learning how to browse the internet and use things like menus and links. Oh, great, thanks. Next up is information. So searching, selecting, and evaluating information online. Up from that is communication. So using email, chat, messaging, creating online profiles. Then we move toward the top is content creation. So this is website design, making videos and other content, blogging, etc. And then finally up at the top, you get strategic skills. So this is where you can actually use the digital medium effectively to reach your own personal or professional goals. And so to reach the level of strategic skills, you need to have the skills that come beneath it. And so a lot of government attention around the world has been devoted to the bottom of the pyramid. Oh, we can stay on the pyramid. Giving people devices, right? Teaching them how to use a computer. There hasn't been much attention to the higher level skills. There's often an assumption that people somehow learn digital skills through osmosis, or they can just pick them up somewhere. I'm sure you know people who don't let on when they don't know something, they're embarrassed, or they might just find a shortcut, or they might spend a long time doing something that has a much quicker way, but they just don't know it. I was surprised how many of my students hadn't learned about advanced search techniques They couldn't write a formal email. They weren't familiar with Word or basic formatting, and they'd never blogged or edited a wiki article. And so we might think because people spend a lot of time on their device that they're skilled at technology, but actually many people are just passively consuming the loads of content that are thrown at us. And it's a small percentage of people that are actually making the content. Okay, you can move down. So some of the issues are digital, you can move the slides, yeah. Some of the issues I've mentioned, digital technology and the internet have fundamentally changed society. I think we can all agree on that, but it's constantly changing, right? So it's hard to keep up. Different people have different opinions about what knowledge and skills you need. There's also an issue about stereotypes. So people might think, oh, it's geeky. Oh, that's not for someone like me. Or they might think it's too hard. And so this leads to a lack of interest or motivation, or sometimes just fear and anxiety. Formal education is still struggling to adapt to this environment and to teach these skills. And so what we have is the growing digital divide. So many people are still being left behind because either they don't have adequate devices or internet access, or the skills to use things even if they have access to them. They might not be able to do things online, such as communicate with others, work remotely and collaboratively, take an online class, access government services, or even just order their groceries. And this has been worsened by the pandemic because people are being forced to go online to do these things. If you go down to the next one. So it's kind of a sink or swim environment. You might have seen some of these articles recently about thousands of children who don't have internet access at home. Seniors are being told they need to shop for groceries online at all hours of the night to try to make it through. And Maori and Pacifica people are being disproportionately disadvantaged by government services that are being moved entirely online. So my take is we've got a formal education system that's not moving fast enough to address this adequately or equitably. And we have a new mandatory digital technology curriculum in New Zealand, and other countries do as well, and this is a good start. But this still leaves out a lot of people, including those who've already gone through the schooling system. So I'm interested in taking action on closing this digital divide and developing some ways and means to address all levels of that digital skills pyramid that I mentioned within the special New Zealand context. So what I'm interested in, I'd love your suggestions about how we can tackle this digital divide and ensure that everyone can participate more meaningfully in society. So I've come up with some prompt questions here. Feel free to use something else. How many do we have, Barry?
There's 20 of us in here, 19 of us in here.
Yeah, so we can break up into some breakout sessions. Some prompt questions are, what digital skills are most important for New Zealanders to learn for the 2020s? What's the biggest challenge you faced regarding digital upskilling? Are there ways you think this could be reduced or lessened? What strategies have you used or seen used that help people learn and become comfortable with digital technology? Could these be used in other settings or with other groups? Are they transferable? And who's most at risk of being left behind regarding digital skills in your community or field? And what's the most pressing need for these people? So,
cool. I'm just going to pop you into breakout rooms now. So
okay.
You'll be given a prompt, and just make sure that you click the OK button. Do you have a number in mind, Kira?
I think Barry said 5 people per group. Does that sound okay? Sorry. Does people from the breakout rooms want to either put in the chat or give some of your thoughts that you talked about?
There was a lovely idea in our breakout room. You know the way this is eat my lunch or eat your lunch, eat my lunch service in New Zealand, where you buy lunch and you pay for somebody else's lunch as well, like an eat my broadband kind of thing as well, where you put someone else's connection onto your own connection and just pay for someone too.
Yeah, I like that idea, because not only does it help people and kids especially, but it would raise awareness that actually everyone doesn't have broadband. Yeah. Just like the Eat My Lunch raises awareness about, you know, not everyone has a nice filling meal. Let's see, people in the chat are mentioning families can support each other. Definitely have that happen with my family. I get calls on how do I work this PDF, and And I'm glad to support it, but I think about what about people that don't have someone that they can rely on. Someone talks about fear holding them back. Yeah, there's still a lot of computer anxiety, I think, even among people that maybe don't think they have it, but then something goes wrong. The whole digital spectrum of needs. Nikki, do you want to elaborate more on that?
Yeah, hi, sorry, I can. We talked about, and it really just goes back to your introduction actually, about understanding that there's a very wide spectrum of digital needs in New Zealand, and they're not necessarily the stereotypes that we think, but simply that it is very, very broad. And in this stage of transition, we need to understand that better before we can meet those needs.
Yes, definitely. I think I'm seeing coming through here the idea of lifelong learning. It's not necessarily you learn, you've mastered digital skills and now you move on to the next thing that you need to master. Like, it's a continual process. And the ground's constantly changing, right? I think that's what makes it more difficult perhaps than a traditional subject that is mostly the same and maybe has a little bit new things added to it, whereas technology sometimes, like Twitter kind of came out of nowhere and now suddenly it's a huge thing, and maybe in the next 10 years there'll be a whole new slew of things. Thank you everyone for your participation, and if you want to add anything to the shared Google Doc in the program, that would be great.
Ka kite anō. Thanks so much, Kara, and make your way into your next Zoom room. Hopefully we'll see you soon.